Okay, folks, welcome back. Section 3.2 on pages 144, 145. This is what this is going to look like. Okay. So this one's a little different. Working with headers and footers. Okay. Setting tab stops. This is page 146. Okay. So these are designed to appear a little bit like tables. In other words, they keep things lined up so things make sense, just like that table did for us. Read a little bit more about these, but you see these sorts of things in the table of contents in books and sometimes in indexes. And it's very simple to do this if you know how to do it. In other words, it should not take you much time. So on page 147, we're going to start here. So we're going to open up our new classes report. Okay. So this is the report we were working with previously. I'll make this a little larger so you can kind of see a little easier. And I'm not going to reference back to this much, but I'll tell you which page we're working on, and I'll tell you which step we're working on, and you can pause and go back and do your work or whatever you want to do. So I'm on page 147. We've got it open, and because I didn't close it. And on page 148, they want us to go to the top of the document, and it looks like I haven't moved everything around exactly right, but I'll get to that. Okay, so they want us to go to the right of the last E in Susie Blake's name. And I'm going to press the Tab key, and on step 8, on page 148, it says to type Senior Consultant. And then press the Enter key and type Emmanuel Iglesias. And press the Tab key and type Senior Consultant. And hit Enter, and then type Carolina Sheffield-Basinger. Press the Tab key, and then type Project Manager. And look at the picture on page 148 at the bottom. And so what we want to do now is we want to make sure we're at the Home tab on the ribbon, step 1 on page 149. And on the horizontal ruler, and that's here, okay? Vertical is on the left, horizontal is on the top. Okay, we want to click at the 2.5 inch mark, but before we do that, just a reminder, View, and then in the Show group, Ruler allows you to be able to see that ruler. So if you can't see the ruler, you're not going to be able to do this step. So click on the View tab and make sure your ruler is there. So on the horizontal ruler, click at the 2.5 inch mark. So 2.5 inches is here. So this is 1, 2, 2.5 inches. Okay. And if I click one time, now this like backwards L shows up here. And okay. So first thing we want to do here to get these tabs to line up is to highlight these 3 lines first. And then we're going to go click one time on the horizontal ruler at 2.5 inches. Okay? And then what happens is, you can see we still only have one tab in between these, but they've lined them up by virtue of that single click. So this allows us to be able to do what we did with the table, but it doesn't give us as many options. And the other thing, you can see there's still a lot of space in between these things. So now what we want to do is we want to highlight the first 2 paragraphs in this list. We want to use our skills from the first module, and we want to remove the space after the paragraph in step 4 on page 149. And then when you click out of that, you'll be able to see that actually looks pretty good. It looks a lot like a table. Again, it doesn't have as many of the features, and if I turn off the show hide paragraph marks, it looks pretty clean. So if you don't pull those lines together by removing space after paragraph, it's not going to look very good. So page 151, we want to add a footnote to the report. So we want to use the navigation pane. So if we press the Control key and the F key, and we're going to find, not E, we want to find improved financial prospects. And it's going to take us to that particular section, and we want to click to the right of the period after prospects. So the first dot is the period, the second dot in the middle is the space. You can close that navigation pane. It stays put right there. Whoops. And now we want to go to the References tab in the ribbon. And we're going to click on Insert Footnote. Whoops. Insert Footnote. And it automatically puts a little 1 in our document. And it also, so you can see the little 1 there, it also puts the insertion point down here at the bottom so we can actually type this in there. So this is going to be for more information, comma, see, keep your bank account healthy, comma, double quote, at for your health .cengage.com, period. Okay, so that's step 5 on page 151. So now we're going to enter a second footnote. So keep in mind where we just put this one. And at the end of the third line of the same paragraph, okay, so third line of the same paragraph, so right there. So after the word syndrome and after the period, we want to go insert another footnote. And now it bumped the other one down because it happens before the other one. And this time we're going to type, I'm on step 2 at the bottom of page 151, metabolic syndrome is a cluster of conditions associated with heart disease, comma, stroke, comma, and diabetes, period. Okay, so that's step 2 on page 151. So flip over to page 152, save your document, make sure yours looks similar here. But if you had to type these manually without using word processing tools, you would be running into some issues at this point. Just simply trying to figure out how to insert this, not that, but this crazy line that shows up, the superscripted number 1s and number 1s and 2s up here. Okay, we're going to skip page 153 about hyphenation. I don't want you to do that. I think it can cause some issues for people, and hyphenating the documents, you may or may not bump into that in the future. It seems like by turning that on page 153, you could create yourself some work. So know that you can hyphenate your document automatically, and you don't need to do that by hand. 154. We're going to insert a section break below the table. This is probably the trick of this entire activity. So we want to go below the table, okay? And you can get there by pressing the Control key and the End key, if that works for you. And we want to go to the page layout section. So we're in page layout, page 154, step 2. If you are in the insert, you're not going to be able to do that there. You've got to be in page layout. Go to breaks. We are not going to pick any of the first 3. Don't choose those. We're in section breaks. So we want to choose the next page section break. Really important that you do this because it gives you functionality you will not otherwise have. So if you do not do this, you basically can't do any of the steps that are coming up here. So on the ribbon, we want to go to the View tab, and we want to go to Multiple Pages. So click on Multiple Pages, and I'm just going to make this a little smaller just so I can see everything simultaneously. Okay, so I got all 4 pages here. We want to go to the Layout. In the ribbon, click the Layout tab. And we want to do Orientation. So since we inserted the section break, we can make the orientation of just this last page landscape. Okay, so there's 2 sections. If your insertion point was blinking in one of the first 3 pages, then the first 3 pages will be landscaped and the last page will not. So just kind of keep that in mind. You created basically 2 different areas for formatting is essentially what we're doing here. And then we're going to place a graphic image, some sort of image on that last page here. So Smart Art, page 156. So I'm going to zoom back in here just so I am in a more normal state. Okay, so I'm in that last page. I'm on the last page of the document. My insertion point's blinking there. We want to go to the Insert tab in the ribbon, and then I want to find the Smart Art button. So the Smart Art button for me is located here. I want to go to the Relationship section on the left-hand side, and then I want to find the Converging Radial. Okay, Converging Radial. And it's probably on the third line from the bottom, but you probably do want to find this particular graphic just so you can follow along here. So choose OK, and when you do that, it automatically does some stuff. Be careful what you do from this point forward, because if you close this little box here, you might have a hard time getting back to it, and you probably just need to start over. So first thing, where this thing is blinking right now, we want to type better, not beater, better physical and mental health. So that's step 1 on the bottom of page 157. Press the down arrow key and type the word exercise. Notice how it readjusts itself. Flipped over to page 158. I'm going to press the down arrow key. I'm going to type good nutrition. So it automatically adjusts everything. I'm going to go down to that last one, and for this one, we are actually going to just press the backspace key. We're just going to get rid of that one. So it gets rid of it, and now what I've got is 2 kind of rectangular objects and a circular object. And we can close this guy here. I'm going to zoom the other direction just so I can see this whole page. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure I have my whole graphic selected and just make sure it takes up the whole page. And it looks good. And they give you some sizes at the bottom of page 158. You can follow them if you like. I would recommend, and that's where those sizes would go. But I think seeing it is a much better skill to learn how to make it look good than it is to be able to type numbers up there. I think that's just good info. Okay, so let's go back and just see what all this looks like. So that actually looks pretty good. Okay, I'm on the bottom of page 160. 160. So you get your last page that's landscaped. And I'm going to go back to 100%. Whew, bless me.
Bless you.
Bless me. You taking your bucket and leaving, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No maintenance.
All right, sir. Thank you. Bottom of page 160, we're going to create a header and footer for the whole document. So we want to go to the white space. I'm on step 2, bottom of page 1. So go all the way to the bottom of page 1. Okay. Bottom of page 1. Double click there, and it takes you into the footer. So we're creating a footer here. Step 3 on page 161 says to type your first and last names. Matt, her. And then press the Enter key. Step 4 says in the header and footer group, okay, header and footer group, click on the page number button. Okay, so there's the page number button. I'm going to go to current position, and for this one we're going to choose the accent bar 2 style. And it automatically puts some styled text in there along with the page number. So now in the navigation group, if we click on, this is step 7, we click on next, it's going to take us to the next footer. So the next footer is in section 2. Okay? The footer shows up on all the other pages, but this is the next footer. So in this one, so on step 7, it's exactly the same as everything else. We're going to likely just leave that one here. Okay? So now we want to go to the header. So if you check up here, so go to the header. And if I do that, it takes me to the header section. And in this one, so I'm on step 2, go to header, and in the navigation group, click on the link to preview. So you can see it's highlighted. That means that it's on. Okay, so the section 2 header is linked to the previous section. We want to turn that off. So this is like a light switch. And when we turn that off, that means that it's no longer linked to one another. And now in the navigation group, we can go to the previous header. Okay, so jump to the previous header. And this time we're in the header for section 1. So the section 2 header has nothing in it, and neither does the section 1. But we're going to type some stuff here. And we want to... Okay, so this time we're going to, in step 5 on page 162, we're going to click on this header, and when you do that, there's going to be some options that are going to show up. I don't really care which one you pick, but they're suggesting that you pick the grid style. Again, I don't really care. And so once we do that, it inserts a bunch of stuff. It's got a document title and it's got the date there. So it says to click on the document title, placeholder text, and I just clicked it one time. And then type on step 8 on page 163, it says to type recommendation for classes at Vista Grande Neighborhood Center. It's pretty long. And now we're going to click on the date. And when we click on the date, you can click on this little arrow and you can just click on today's date, and it'll automatically insert that. It will change as time goes by. If you want a different date up there, you can pick one of the other dates. So if you click on the View tab in the ribbon, click on Multiple Pages, and I'll zoom the other direction a little bit, just so I can see everything. So I do not have a header showing up here on the last section, on the last page, but I do have a header showing up on the first 3 pages, and a footer that shows up on all the pages. So what happens here is the footer on section 1 is obviously all going to be the same. The section 2 footer is linked to the previous one, which means that it's going to show up as the same. And it tells you that here, same as previous. Okay, great. Okay, bottom of page 164, we're going to insert a cover page. So make sure you're still zoomed so you can see all the pages. If you click on the Control key and the Home key, it's going to take you to the first page. And actually, I am in the header at this point, so that's not actually good. So I need to click somewhere in the document itself and then click the Control Home key. And I'm going to go to Insert tab, and then when I'm in the Insert tab, on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on the cover page, and you can find a cover page. So I used the grid style before, so I'm just going to stick with it. Pick whatever you like. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. Make it look good, though. If you're going to go off the rails, just make sure that your colors are working together, etc., etc. So this is a cover page. So it really didn't take much time at all to get a cover page here. I'm on page 165, and some of the instructions will talk to you about the hyphenation. Okay, so let's go to the Layout tab, and in the page setup group, they're talking about hyphenation. We did not turn that on. So you're not going to see that unless you did indeed follow the instructions. So I turned it off, but if I had it automatic, that's what it's going to look like. Neighborhood. That doesn't look very good. This actually looks pretty good. In the hyphenation dialog box, click hyphenate words in caps, blah, 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 blah. It gives you some other information. I'm going to move down to step 8 or 10, I'm sorry. So here's the document subtitle. I'm going to click one time on that. I'm going to type Rivera Public Health Consulting. And then I'm going to look down here beneath the title, and it has this draw your reader in with a blah, 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 blah. We actually want to get rid of this. So we'll click on this, and we're going to remove this somehow. I'm just going to press the delete key after I highlight it. I'm going to save my work and move over to page 166. Now we're going to change the theme. So I'm going to zoom the other direction again so I can see a whole bunch of pages. I want to click on the Design tab, and this time the Themes section is located on the left-hand side, and they're suggesting the facet theme for the entire thing. I don't care. Pick whatever you want. But you can see a live preview of whatever it is that you want to look at. I'm just going to stick with the facet theme, but do whatever you like to. So now they want us to check out what this is going to look like. So if I go to File and then Print on steps 1 and 2 on page 166, this is what it's going to look like. And this is kind of important because it gives you a sense of the balance of things. I don't want you to actually print this. Okay, so we can go back here. And I think that it's important for you to understand that there's some other modes that are available here. So if you come down to the bottom, there's this read mode. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because sometimes when you jump on a new computer, you're going to see this and it's going to kind of freak you out a little bit. I don't know that I ever use this. Whenever I see this, I automatically come down and go back to print layout because that's what I like to see. And that is a beautiful document. Congratulations. Okay, so make sure you save your work. And last thing, don't forget to upload that to our class. So get into our class. Here's our class. And this is Word Module 3. Nope, not Access. Not Excel. There's Word Module 2. Okay. So Module 3. And then this is where you want to upload it. I'm in Teacher View right now, but this is the one you want to upload it to. So let's go back to the, let me take you to this page, 168. Okay, so your assignment now, before next Monday, is to complete this review assignment. This is going to be very, very, very similar. They're not giving you as much information to complete all the steps. So you're going to have to refer back to the pages within the module itself to get the clues. But this is a really, 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 really good activity for you. This is a document that you may actually reproduce with your own information in the future. So you could actually use this as a template and kick off right with this one and move forward. So highly recommend you hold on to some of these documents. I think they're going to be really helpful for you. So congratulations, good job. This review assignment should be done before we meet in class on Monday. So that is, today is the 18th. Tomorrow is the 19th. That's when you actually have class with me that we're not meeting. And so when we meet again on the 24th, we're going to move on to Word Module 4. So thank you. Have a great weekend, and let me know if you have questions. Thanks.